On the surface, today's news is simply that Apple is considering Chinese-made DRAM. But the way I read it, the real story lies somewhere else. Even mighty Apple may be shifting from the side that grants orders to the side that asks for supply. Why did the world's strongest buyer have to make this move? Let's dig into the reasons. Welcome to Semiconductor News Decoded. I'm Ty, with 31 years inside the semiconductor industry, bringing you the real view from the factory floor. Today, we're covering the report that Apple is evaluating DRAM from CXMT, China's largest memory maker. By the end of this video, you'll understand what the news actually says, why Chinese means cheap is a misconception here, and why even a standardized part like DRAM is surprisingly hard to switch. Here's today's news in one picture. We'll lean on this boxed lunch analogy all the way through the opening section. Picture a major boxed lunch chain with stores nationwide and lines out the door every day. Its greatest strength is purchasing volume. It buys staggering amounts of rice from 3 contracted farms, so in price negotiations, the chain has always held the upper hand. Then one year, a boom in premium rice ball shops hits town. These shops happily pay top prices for good rice, so the farms start setting their rice aside for them. Soon, something strange happens at the lunch chain. Reverie farmers who used to bow to them start saying, "At the old prices, we no longer have enough rice to sell you." The troubled chain starts looking for a 4th farm it has never dealt with. But here's the catch. That farm's rice isn't cheap at all. It costs the same or even more. And it's popular, with most of this year's crop already spoken for. Even so, the chain seriously considers the deal. Not to buy cheaper, but to avoid running out of rice altogether. And there's one more headache. Even the same variety of rice cooks up slightly differently from farm to farm. The water ratio, the soaking time, the steaming. To protect the taste of the signature menu, every dish's cooking process has to be retuned. Adding one supplier isn't just a new line in the ledger, it's an all-hands job for the whole kitchen. From here, let me walk you through what this actually looks like in the real semiconductor industry. Now for the actual news. The Wall Street Journal reported that Apple is running evaluation tests on DRAM from Changshin Memory Technologies, CXMT, China's memory giant, across multiple product lines, including iPhone and MacBook. Early-stage supply talks are also underway, and according to the report, adoption is being considered especially for Apple products aimed at the Chinese market. So this is not just a rumor. Testing is described as already in progress. CXMT is China's largest DRAM maker, and by the second quarter of 2026, it had grown to roughly 7% of global DRAM revenue. Apple, meanwhile, currently sources its DRAM from 3 companies, Samsung, SK Hynix, and Micron. If CXMT joins that list, it would become the 4th supply source for Apple's products. The backdrop is a memory crunch driven by AI demand. As demand for HBM in AI servers has surged, memory makers are shifting capacity toward those high-margin AI products. The squeeze falls on the ordinary DRAM that goes into phones and PCs, keeping supply tight and prices under upward pressure. It's the rice ball boom, leaving the lunch chain short of rice. There are hurdles, though. The biggest is U.S. export controls on China, which restrict the technical exchanges Apple can have with CXMT. And as of the report, nothing has been decided. This is still the stage of evaluation and early talks. That's the reported fact set, everything we know from the article itself. From here on, this is my own read as an industry veteran. First, many of you probably assumed this is about buying cheap Chinese memory to beat down prices. I see that as a misconception. According to the reporting, CXMT's prices are on par with the big 3, or even higher. The reason is simple. CXMT has no spare capacity either. Its output for this year is reportedly almost fully booked, so it has no need to sell cheap. So what is Apple after? My read is a 4th card at the negotiating table. Apple has always used its enormous purchase volumes to control pricing. But thanks to AI demand, memory makers now have the option of not discounting for Apple. Left unchecked, this shift in leverage could leave both price and volume at the supplier's mercy. You might think, isn't DRAM a standardized part? Isn't it the same from any maker? Yes, DRAM follows the JEDEC standard, but speaking from the factory floor, chips in the same standard package have different personalities by maker. Timing margins, voltage margins, current draw. The catalog numbers match, yet the fine details are a different animal. That's why adding a new supplier demands qualification. You sweep the voltage, you sweep the temperature, you sweep the timing, and you do it for every product line until it's proven solid for mass production. In our analogy, it's retuning how every dish is cooked just to add one rice farm. After 31 years in this industry, I can tell you, switching memory suppliers is exactly that heavy a job. This case is even tougher. Because of US restrictions, Apple can't share deep technical information with CXMT, so jointly developing a custom DRAM for Apple looks difficult. That means buying off-the-shelf parts and shouldering the qualification work largely on Apple's own side. Apple is deliberately choosing the labor-intensive path. And yet, Apple keeps evaluating. This is today's single biggest point. Apple has judged that one more supply route is worth a massive qualification bill. That shows how entrenched the seller's market in memory has become. The video title says the memory vendors can't really be blamed for playing hardball right now, and this is the structure it refers to. The conditions letting sellers stay bullish are structurally locked in. One more thing to keep in perspective. Even if CXMT joins the supply network, I see little chance of DRAM prices falling in the short term. Again, because CXMT itself has no slack. What matters comes further out, whether the structure of negotiations changes. And this is a challenge only a buyer with Apple's purchasing power can even attempt. For Japan, this is not someone else's problem. Persistently high DRAM prices hit the procurement desks of Japanese device and equipment makers directly. And in a seller's market, limited supply flows to the biggest customers first. If even Apple is scrambling to secure supply, smaller buyers will find multi-sourcing even harder. The ones really hurting are the vast majority of companies that can't be Apple. Let's wrap up. Apple is evaluating CXMT DRAM across product lines, including iPhone and MacBook, with early-stage supply talks underway. But remember, CXMT's prices are not cheap. Its capacity has no slack. US regulations stand in the way, and adoption has not been decided. Evaluation, yes. Commitment, not yet. Still, the world's strongest buyer has moved to add a supplier, even at enormous qualification cost. To me, that fact is the clearest evidence that leverage in the memory market has tilted toward the sellers. How long will this seller's market last? Let's keep a relaxed eye on it together. That's all for today. I'll keep bringing you semiconductor news and analysis. So if you found this useful, please like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. This has been Ty on Semiconductor News Decoded.